What movie scared you to death as a child? The original Leprechaun of all movies. I know it's mostly silly and comedic, but the opening scene scared me to death as a kid. Still scares me as an adult, too. Spoiler: Leprechaun kills an elderly woman on a farm by pushing her down the stairs. He then uses her voice to speak to her husband. When he gets home, the husband then dies of a heart attack. Hearing Leprechaun use the old woman's voice, or seeing the clear outline of his body in the doorway. I had so many nightmares about coming home and seeing his silhouette. Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. The voices, the ghosts. I had nightmares for days after watching the movie if I could sleep. I hated Harry Potter because of that. Now, I'm a big fan at the age of 13. I watched the movies again. Then read the books when I was 14. Then visited the Warner Brothers of LA and London, and Universal Studios, and King's Cross Station. I'm no longer scared of it. But I do remember my childhood. During those times I was terrified. Fire in the sky. My mother wouldn't let me leave the room. There's more to that, of course. I was so deeply traumatized that I could not go to the bathroom by myself for over 10 years. I would scream until someone agreed to go with me, as the main guy was found in a bathroom. I still can't watch it, but I did watch it in my 20s to try and help my fear. It's better than it was, but I don't think I'll ever recover from it. Honestly, Pinocchio, the whole thing was very eerie to me. Particularly the Pleasure Island scenes when the boys are turning into donkeys. Just disturbing, and a nightmare for a child who had a very overactive guilt complex already. But I also didn't care for them being stuck in that whale or that creepy fox. Let my man go to school already. He don't need to be delayed and sold into the circus. Gremlins. I was like 5, and I had nightmares about somebody grabbing a cat and putting it in a microwave like they did one of the gremlins in the movie. When I watched it as an adult, it was a hilarious movie. But I still remember having nightmares when I was little. Also Secret of NIHN. But I saw that at a babysitter's when I was maybe 2 and just knew it was a scary movie. The Ring. I refused to sleep in my own bedroom for a whole weekend, because I had a big mirror in my room within sight of my bed. Every time I rolled over, it looked like something was moving on the other side of the room. I'm 35 and I still can't stand looking at mirrors in a dark room. So instead, I slept down in the living room from the TV. The Incredible Shrinking Man. I couldn't stop thinking about him getting smaller and smaller. I obsessed about how small can a thing get before it disappears. But no grown-up could answer me. What if he never disappears? What if there is a whole world of tiny people and things we can't see? Are we stepping on them? I was 6. The 1960 13 Ghosts. It was on TV when I was 4 or 5 and it scared me something bad. I thought about all those ghosts for a long time. Around that same time, my sister would help me with my bath and tell the scary stories while doing so. I was constantly on edge, being a little boy, thinking that every bump in the night was a ghost. The Wizard of Oz. I'm old enough to have seen it in the theater somehow. It came around about Easter, and the tornado scared the shit out of me. For context, I grew up in central Illinois where the tornado warning sirens were, as I was taught to be taken seriously. That was serious business for a 6 or 7-year-old kid. The Shining. It was on cable and I was sent upstairs. I snuck back down and peeked in. It was the scene with slaughtered twins. Freaked me the fuck out, and I couldn't go to my parents for comfort, then I'd have to confess my crime. They would have comforted me, but I did spend the next few months in abject terror. I was raised on a steady diet of horror movies from the time I was 7, and was absolutely infatuated with all of them. That being said, the only one I can remember freaking me out was the Fly remake during the arm wrestling scene. I have no clue why my dad felt the need to show me that movie on Christmas Eve. My mum was a huge fan of Lifetime television back in the day. One night, we watched a story about the murder of Jacqueline Dowlaby, who was a 7-year-old who sadly died due to strangulation. They never caught the killer as far as I know. I thought that this man was going to sneak through my window and get me too. For some reason, my parents let me watch the Christian movie Left Behind when I was like 6 years old, and I couldn't mentally comprehend what it meant. I woke up every day for a good couple of years terrified that my family was all going to disappear and I would be left behind and not understand why. The Grudge, which is kind of funny because I watched The Ring when I was like 10 or 11, and that didn't scare me. Even just seeing the trailer for The Grudge scared the shit out of me. Non-horror movie though. The Little Mermaid. Asala and her cave are pretty dang scary. LOL, I love Asala now though. Stupid movie. White Nose with Michael Keaton. He was able to talk to dead people through TVs and radios without a signal. There were a couple of ghosts that chased him, screaming at him through this TVs and radios. I still feel uncomfortable when there's a TV with no signal around. It wasn't the movie, but just the character Freddy Krueger of Nightmare on Elm Street. I shared a bedroom with my 2 older brothers and they had a big poster of the fucker. I was terrified of it. I'd move my bed so I can't see it. They'd move the poster so I could. Paracunts. Humanoids from the deep. Fucking AI was 7. Wreck me. Now I can't swim where I don't see the bottom. Also have a fear of sea kidding. Fuck that movie. LOL. I rewatch it all the time now, minus the last fucking scene. Bonus movies Alien and Prophecy. Beauty and the Beast, The Enchanted Christmas. There was something about that giant organ chilling in a large dark room, and having empty eyes, and an empty mouth. And then when he tears himself off the wall, scared the heck out of me. My mom still brings it up sometimes, haha. My older siblings dragged me with them when they went to see Goonies. I was 5, and the terrifying, shrill scream I let out the first time Sloth's face appeared on the screen was enough to disrupt the theater next to us. I refused to watch it for a few years afterward, too. Was 14 and on pain meds after a freak and bloody accident. But that Amityville horror freaked me out so much I left the theater and waited in the lobby until my cousin and brother came out afterwards. Always wondered if the meds had anything to do with my overreaction. I saw Aliens and Graveyard Shift at a sleepover in 1993 when I was 9. Scared me to death. Also saw Cape Fear. I think at another sleepover with the same friend. Her parents either didn't care or didn't know what we were watching, and Robert De Niro scared me shitless. The Towering Inferno. Watched on TV. People on fire and jumping to their deaths terrified me as a kid. No idea how old I was, but under 10. Especially since we had a hallway night light that was orange and flickered a bit. There were some sleepless nights. Jaws, my dad was watching it in the living room, and I wasn't allowed to watch. But I was in the kitchen and heard everything. I'm terrified of the ocean. Won't fly over it. No boats, only going up to my knees, and I'm looking for sharks the whole time. The Ring 2. I'd never seen a horror movie before, and my neighbor invited me to go see it before a sleepover. And a fake he is always watching action movies, so I was like sure. I did not sleep that night and was sweating bullets in my sleeping bag. LOL. E.T. The movie itself. Terrifying. And the scariest part was how everybody else seemed to see it as a cute, heartwarming family movie. I felt like a protagonist in a horror movie, and nobody believes them. Something wicked this way comes. I don't even remember what it was about anymore except some kind of evil circus. I just remember being absolutely terrified as a kid. To this day I still don't want to rewatch it. And I'm a huge horror fan. The Watcher in the Woods, 70s Disney spooky flick my older sister and her friends got on VHS for a Halloween party. It freaked me out and I had nightmares about it for ages. In hindsight, it's not really that good. Or even that scary. Watched Paranormal with my dad and brother. Room was dark AF. Which doesn't really matter, but it didn't help. We didn't watch the last scene. Dad told us it was based off real events. Yeah. Definitely scared for a long while after that. Jeepers Creepers 2. The school bus scene with creepers licking the emergency door and pulling the pins out of the hinges. I've never been afraid of anything, but that scene fucked me up and I still refuse to watch it even as an adult. This might sound strange, but Ace Ventura, When Nature Calls. I walked in on the scene where he crawled out of the robotic rhino's ass, without the context that it was a robot. I thought a rhino was shitting out a full-grown human. Not a movie. But America's Most Wanted kept me up at night for years thinking the worst was coming in the middle of the night. My parents wouldn't let me watch The Simpsons, but a show about murderers was okay. Thanks, guys. Twister, I was absolutely terrified of tornadoes after watching that. My parents said that any time the wind would pick up, I would run outside to gather all my tools so they wouldn't get swept up in the impending tornado. Just thinking about it still freaks me out. A close second would be the Poltergeist movie, where the caskets start coming up out of the ground when it rained because they built the houses on top of them. For years, I couldn't finish watching The Muppets Christmas Carol. Why? Because the ghost of Christmas yet to come in that film was nightmare fuel for me. Even now when watching the movie, it's still a little eerie. Something evil, I saw the glowing eyes in my nightmares for years. And the original Dawn of the Dead zombies coming out of their hiding places like under my bed, which sat on the floor to this day. I found Critters on TV once as a child without my parents knowing, and it traumatized me for years. For my wife, it was The Brave Little Toaster and Ferngully. She still won't watch Ferngully.